Hello everybody and welcome back to Let's Play Aurora 4X C#. I do want to be upfront with you all here that I did decide after, sleeping on it overnight that yes, I was going to use Space Master to bring us back with 5 transports as well as spawning in 2 orbital defense teams on the Lande. The reason is quite simple. I am of the belief that the only reason why the Expeditionary Strike Group was lost was because for some reason the pathing for Quick Reaction Force 2, which I had told to follow Expeditionary Strike Group 1 after the Expeditionary Strike Group had left Earth orbit, decided to get funky and seemingly sent it out into the far reaches of the Sol system. I have zero clue as to why it did that. But I am of the belief that the only reason why we lost our troop transports and the 2 orbital defense teams that were on it was because, for some reason, Quick Reaction Force 2 was not able to correctly path how to meet up with and follow Expeditionary Strike Group 1. I have zero clue as to why it happened, but like I said, I am of the belief that the only reason why we lost the troop transports and the troops they were transporting was because of this, and as a result, I decided to use Space Master to bring them back. So we have our 5 troop transports again, as well as, like I said, 2 orbital defense teams now located on the Lande. So going forward, we can basically act as if we never lost the transports. That technically we did because I didn't bother reorganizing their numbers so that they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. So they're now like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But whatever. Now, one thing we are going to potentially want to do, because, well, I guess it's a question of, do I want to just, have these guys perpetually have their actives on? I guess we can see if it screws with the game at all. If it doesn't, then sure, we can just leave their actives on at all times. Especially since there's no passives there, really, for the most part. Now, one thing I am considering doing is sort of finishing up our tech on electronic countermeasures and electronic countermeasures, and doing a fairly minor refit of our ships to give them these better ECMs and ECCMs. We have tier 3 now. They currently have tier 2 equipped to them. I can refit them with tier 3, or we can just say screw it and hold off and research tier 4 and then refit them with tier 4. I don't know how far ECM and ECCM go in terms of tech, but I think going to 4 is probably sufficient for our immediate needs. So I think that's what we're going to do, is we're going to get those techs, which are going to take a little while, because we're only doing like 16,000 some odd. We'll just round for the sake of simplicity and say 16,000. But they need 40,000 total, so that's, in the ballpark of 3 years. So that'll be a little while. Somebody got promoted to captain. I think it's because they just took over a ship. And actually, what is the next tech that's supposed to finish? The next tech that should be finishing looks to be the better railguns. Or, well, the higher velocity, so that theoretically we could build better railguns. We don't currently really have a need to do so, though. Oh, we got another new shipping lane that has cropped up. That's always fun, I guess. Could be helpful. We got a lot of stuff we need to ship around, technically speaking. Game, I want to... Thank you. Wanted to go here. Okay, the Londe Mineral Group is doing its thing. You guys don't need to have your actives on anymore. But annoyingly, I'm just going to tell these guys to turn them off. Although it doesn't really matter because since they are, technically in the hangar, it makes zero difference, but I'm just going to turn it off because they have zero reason to have them on at all. I just kind of forgot to tell them to turn it off before they docked. Okay, there we go. And how much are you guys carrying? Basically only about 2,000 tons or so. Yeah, Lalande does not mine that quickly. So, again, I could set them to only come, like, every year or something, which... You know what, that's probably actually what we're gonna do, is, you guys finish up this current cycle, and then I'm gonna switch your orders and tell you to just go every year. Because Lalande doesn't mine nearly at a rate that matters. A bunch of people are getting, retiring without actually having done anything. Okay, so Lalande, I'm going to tell you, and annoyingly because I'm needing to have you traverse systems, your first order, actually, unless I can do it this way, which I don't know if I can. Can I? Well, annoyingly, Lalande is not showing up as an option there. I don't know why. It's so damn inconsistent. I need to figure out again, because I don't remember off the top of my head. Okay, so I'm gonna just have to manually tell you guys to go to Alpha Centauri. But before you even make that trip, you are going to wait a year. And then you're going to continue everything else with 0 delay. You're going to unload all minerals, refuel, resupply, and cycle those orders. There we go. So rather than them just going every time and grabbing a tiny amount of materials each time, they're just going to wait a year now instead. It should be fine. The main thing we need there is the corundium, and outside of when we're doing massive buildups of trying to improve our infrastructure, generally is fine. In fact, let's go ahead and say get those mines going, because I have plenty of places that I can ship them to. Mars could use it because they have quite a bit of calcite. Doesn't hurt for them to have more mines, and they do have a ton of people currently not working. Luna could also potentially use it, but it doesn't really matter too much for me there. And actually, one second. Technically speaking, we actually should have had an election a couple years ago, unless I, completely screwed up. But I kind of forgot to actually update the names here, so we're just gonna have those two run for office. And I just need to update number of people. We're gonna act like that's how many people we had 3 years ago, even though, you know, that's definitely not the case. I just, like I said, kind of forgot to actually run it. Okay, so Asim is now the leader, as far as we are concerned. Pretty sure my math was right. That's when it all should have taken place. I'll double check that math later. It doesn't matter significantly. This is all just kind of for background stuff, and we haven't had much of a reason to actually use it so far. I thought we finished those before. Okay, I don't know why I thought we had finished those missiles again before, but whatever. Put a couple more people working on the ECM, although ECM doesn't matter nearly as much as ECCM. And God, I would love to go ahead and just get the 70-centimeter cannonades, but it is so freaking expensive. And I can't quite justify the cost. Same with getting Tricobolt Warhead. I can't quite justify that, and I don't see us getting 80,000 velocity railguns anytime soon, because it is way too expensive. Basically, anything that gets above 100,000 is just a little too expensive for my tastes. Ooh, small craft ECM. Or, well, actually ECCM. Interesting. Well, so we already had compact. We literally have compact. It's always one level below. This is, I guess, even smaller than compact, but the description is not quite corrected to reflect that this is actually smaller than compact. We could theoretically put ECCM on our fighters. I don't think they really need ECCM, but ECM would be nice. But also, this could, in theory, go onto larger ships, couldn't it? The only thing is that it's always going to be, like, 3 levels behind. If I'm getting this correctly. We are researching 4 right now. We can research Compact 2 right now of ECM. As for what we actually have... Yeah, and we already have Compact 2 for ECCM. We currently do not have Tier 3 because we won't get Tier 3 Compact until after I research Tier 4 normal. So yeah, if my math is correct, small craft, electronic countermeasures, and electronic countermeasures is always going to be like 3 levels behind. Which I guess is fine. If you want to be able to put them on a fighter, it could help, in theory. I don't think it would make a significant difference, though, so I probably won't bother with those. But they seem like an interesting concept, I will say that. I want to go ahead and say, let's go ahead and see about just getting even better armor for a minor refit that we're going to potentially be doing. It's not going to be as minor if I'm replacing the armor, though. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to be completely honest. I think we've generally researched the techs that I care about. Most of what is left is sort of, well, I guess that's nice to have for the most part. That's just my opinion, though. I really believe that for the most part, we've researched the techs that I generally care about right now. But you might as well be researching, because otherwise the game's going to be stopping every so often to tell you, you have inactive labs. And we can't have that. And so yeah, in many ways, there's just no reason for me not to. At least be researching something, even if I maybe don't necessarily care for it. Also, realistically, I could tell, the Psi Ceti and Alpha Centauri mineral groups also to switch to just picking stuff up every year because it doesn't really matter. But the reality is it only would become a real issue if we actually start running low on fuel. But considering that we have 246 million units of fuel, I don't think that's going to be an issue anytime soon. So we're just kind of gonna say sure. But Earth is 5 years out from not being able to produce any minerals of its own. Of course, it will free up a ton of mines, because the only thing I can do with those is to ship them off worlds to somewhere else, and then, I don't know, I guess build more research labs or something. Which doesn't hurt, I guess. More research labs would be helpful. I could obviously research more stuff. More stuff that I don't necessarily care too much about. But it's still more stuff. Okay, and there is our mining production, which of course is going to affect Earth. It's no longer 5 years out, it's now 3.9 years. But that'll help us get even more calcite off of Venus, and even more corundium, in particular, off of Lalande. Now, it looks like Venus is yet again over its mass driver capacity and is now going to be stockpiling some of the resources. So I'm going to need to tell Earth to build me some more mass drivers because it only has one and I can't tell it to ship that one off world. So I'm going to tell you to build me 5 more. No, I can actually just move you down in the queue and then move this up twice. So that'll be done September 21 something. But considering how quickly we can construct things, that'll probably actually be September of this year, I'm thinking. I highly doubt it'll take them until next year. That'd be weird. Now, one thing to consider is potentially building an actual repair yard. That is a shipyard that can only do repairs. You can do repairs, obviously. We've done it before here. But the big thing is if you do repairs using these, that is a slipaway that is not available to be able to do a refit or a construction or whatever, or even scrap something. So repair yards can help somewhat to clear out stuff. So What is our space command? Or our sector command here on Earth? We only have the one. Let's see. How far out is Lalande out of curiosity? It is 2 out. Okay. Before you get to building more of the mines again, once you're done with the mass drivers, build me one more sector command. That'll expand our range for that. Oh, and I forgot to... Yep, thank you, game. I forgot to actually use the lab, so let's go ahead and get those onto better planetary sensors. Maybe we can find those aliens that are presumably still out there somewhere, way out in the far reaches of the Sol system. Again, it's been like a decade for many of them. Wonderful mass drivers have finished. I'm going to tell Venus to request 1, and Earth is going to Earth is going to supply 1. I do need a deep space tracking station, and I think the biggest thing is I'm just going to go ahead and tell you to request 1. You're far enough out that I think it would benefit you to have 1. But you only need the 1. You don't need 2. There is... So it should be noted, again, the more deep space tracking stations you have, the further your range. There is diminishing returns. Each one, to my understanding, is half the value of the prior ones. So I think the general rule of thumb, at least from what I could tell in the forums, is sort of a 5. It's not much point in having any more than that. Which, speaking of, I kind of want Earth to have that. So, we're at 4 right now. We're about to give 1 up. Whenever somebody gets around to Lalande. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Tell Earth to build 2 more to make up for the 1 that's going away, and to actually get it to 5. Okay, our sector command is done. I'm going to go ahead and add Lalande, so that will allow the Lalande to benefit somewhat from the sector governor, which looks to be Pilar Alair, who doesn't really have anything that necessarily benefits them because they don't have mining, it seems. But that's fine. And we finished 2 things. So there is our... well, actually, we finished 1 thing. I keep forgetting. Capacitor recharge always gives you 2. But we're at that point where it's not giving us quarters and 0.5s and things like that. It is now giving us just 2 whole numbers. And there is recharge rate 10, which will allow us to get our 15-centimeter railguns down to a 5-second fire rate. But it is 125,000 research points. I'm going to be honest, I'm inclined to get it. I know I said it was a minor refit, but we're just kind of tacking on a bunch of stuff now, and it's not really going to be a minor refit anymore. It's going to be like a medium refit, we'll say. It's not major, you know, it's not. We're just replacing the weapons and the armor. And maybe half a dozen other things at some point by the time I actually get around to doing it. And aliens detected around Alpha Centauri, and I don't actually have the quick reaction force over Alpha Centauri right now. But luckily, Alpha Centauri does have our fancy new orbital defense teams. And they're going to fuck this guy up to the point where he's probably going to turn around and run. and then come back, because he's going to think, okay, they must have forgotten about me now. Because we know how this works. We've seen it when they popped up on... Oh yes, I kind of didn't actually tell you guys to move to engage. Contacts here, follow, 175,000 kilometers. Luckily, our freighters are kind of slow. That is both good and bad, because it means they're not going to get here in time to potentially get attacked. But it does mean that if they ever get attacked, they can't exactly get away. Which, you know, presents its own problems. Now, I think the big question is going to be... Can we engage this guy before he gets close enough to attempt to engage our terraforming stations? Because I really don't want to replace it again. But we do outrange his guns, so we should be able to. Okay, 2-minute increments now. 30 seconds. 5 seconds now. And about to enter range. And cross the threshold. Boom, 39 hits. He's still coming, though. And destroyed. Wonderful. Again, these things are showing that they are more than sufficient for our needs. They are doing an absolutely wonderful job. Well, actually, yes, I suppose you could technically refuel at least over here, because I think they have fuel. No, they have supplies, though, which is about just as well, I guess. But there we go. Again, our new world defense teams continue to show that they are more than sufficient to defend the planets, which is great. It's all the more reason for us to have more of them. Oh, commander of the Abdel switched. The other one, I guess, retired. And technically, yes, we're still attempting to contact the guys out in Pi Libre, and we've just never gotten a response back from them whatsoever. It doesn't really matter. We've just kind of kept doing it because there's not much of a reason to stop doing it. Okay, so we will get this October of some year, but that is, 5 years out. Could always go ahead and get further research rate, but that is 150,000, which means it's going to take 20 years to research, or might as well at least. Let's see. Yeah, again, we're at that point where there's really not many techs I care about necessarily. So, you know what? Let's just go ahead and finish that tech. The cloak sensor reduction. I don't plan to ever use it, but at least we can get rid of a partially completed tech. It'll help to, well, I was going to say it would help to free up things, but that's not true in the slightest. It doesn't help to free anything up. Duranium on Irene has been depleted. We are definitely not going to be getting all of these mines done in time. I am actually going to go ahead and pause that now. I need to pause the game, otherwise I can't really do this. Pause the mines for now. Don't need, well, actually, we just got a bunch more. Corundium just dropped off. But nonetheless, go ahead and pause it. We don't need you to continue building those right this second. Where can I ship a bunch of mines? Would love to ship them to a place that would give me Corundium, but the only place that I can ship the normal mines to get Corundium would be Saiseti, and oh hey, they... No, okay, I was looking at the wrong column, never mind. They still have a massive workers shortage. Annoyingly, unless I'm misremembering, Saiseti A1, I believe, is a Venusian world, isn't it? Yes, it is a Venusian world. It would give us quite a bit of calcite, tons of duranium. Well, I say quite a bit of calcite. A fair bit of calcite. 3 million I think we could get through, realistically. Especially if we actually expand the military. Or, well, the Navy in particular. Significantly. You know, such as building a second fleet. Something I would love to do at some point in the future, but as of right now is not exactly a great option. Excuse me, not Saiseti, Alpha Centauri B4. What is that all about? B4 has absolutely perfect access to duranium. And quite a bit of mercastium, which I think is a resource we don't really have large deposits of anywhere else. There is quite a bit actually on Saiseti B1, so I don't think we want to actually really deal with colonizing a new place right now, because our biggest thing is that we need to just expand our existing colonies, for many of them at least. So, yeah, we're not going to be doing that. We are going to be, I think, shipping these guys, well, shipping some more mines, rather. Alpha Centauri A2 has a worker shortage. Really, the only places that don't have a worker shortage that I can ship normal mines to is Saiseti A2. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and tell you to double... nope, not delete. The number of mines you have under you. And Earth is going to go ahead and ship you 100 of those. The civilian population will actually take care of it eventually. They can be a bit slow sometimes. But that will help us get more sorium. Speaking of sorium, now that I think about it, Where are you? There you are. How are you doing? You still have about 400,000. Okay, good to know. Nope. Another aliens, well, another group, rather, has been picked up. They're not quite in active sensor range of Quick Reaction Force 2. Also, make sure you guys are fine on, the whole minerals thing. Now, the reality is the ground forces outrange our ships, so we're kind of just going to be leaving this mostly to the ground forces, and if they have problems and the enemy makes it past them, which it shouldn't, we literally saw a Tekka get knocked out in 2 rounds. Then our ships can engage, but the reality is it should be left, for the most part, up to the STOs. That's literally their reason for existing. Especially now that we actually have good ones. That's the big thing for us, really. Okay, these guys look like they are now not wanting to engage us. Are they going for civilians? No, they are just turning off, realizing that this is an absolutely terrible idea and that they shouldn't be trying to come for us. In which case, we're going to tell them, yeah, you're not getting away, buddy. You are not getting away. So, 15 centimeter railgun. You are going to open fire with that as soon as you have the opportunity. Yeah, you're not getting away, buddy. If you want to turn off because you realize it's a terrible idea to approach, I'm assuming because they probably picked up our ships, would be my guess, is that they picked up the quick reaction force. Which it should be noted is also a reason that they exist in a sense. They can scare off enemies. Now, annoyingly, we have a bit of an off approach that could potentially result in them getting shots in at us. Or maybe not, because they are slightly faster. Well, technically we're faster than them, but we're not quite closing the distance nearly as quickly as I expected us to, so we may actually not have to worry about them being able to fire on us. Why are we flying back and forth on a follow? But whatever. Got it done. Ceasefire fleet. Movement orders. Move on back. Oops, nope, I do want to keep the movement tails. Thank you, game. That is a very important thing for me. We're going to go ahead and send the salvage fleet out. They're going to go ahead and pick up those wreckages. They're also going to head out to Lande and pick up all of those wreckages. And then they're going to head back to Earth and refuel and resupply. And I do not actually want to be showing civilians at all time at this point. It is just a little too chaotic for my liking. I don't think anybody actually got credit for destroying that. Is that correct? Oh no, somebody did. Captain Gong Gang Meng. Wonderful name. Was awarded the Order of the President for Naval Service based on the condition of destroying a hostile ship. Okay, so the Albert David looks like got credit for the kill. Double check that that is in fact correct, but it should be. Yes. You were given command of the Albert David. Apparently twice. Was this when you were originally given command? Yeah, yes, that was probably when you were originally given command. Then you got promoted to commander. Or no, you got promoted to commander to take over. Or, to take that position. You got promoted to captain to be able to keep it. Because, I did add stuff, and that kicked you up to requiring a minimum command of captain. To be able to actually be in charge of that ship. That's what happens when you add extra command and control. It will kick up the rank required to be able to command a ship. It doesn't generally result in any problems in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, it is something to keep in mind. If for some reason you do have issues training enough military personnel, you shouldn't, realistically. You have absolutely zero reason to have issues with that. But if for some reason you do, that is definitely something to keep in mind. Is that adding more command and control will result in those problems. Unload ship components, unload minerals. Thank you very much. Let's head over here and scrap that. Scrap those. Anything that is ours, we will be keeping, but anything that is not ours, those would be ancient engines, so we're going to scrap them. I don't care for ECCM1 because we're not using it anymore. And actually, I don't even think we have auxiliary control on any of our ships right now. But I guess we can keep them because if I do decide to add auxiliary controls, it can be helpful. Technically, they're alien auxiliary controls, but hey, we can translate the text and, some people will get to use alien consoles and other people get to use normal human consoles. Iridium has been exhausted on Alpha Centauri B2. And there is our ECM4. And surprisingly, that did not immediately open up compact ECM 3. I'm honestly not sure how to take that. Oh, well, that would be why, because for one thing, I don't have 2. Yes, that would explain things, but let's go ahead and get that done. And then we can research compact ECM2, which would open up compact ECM3. Not that I plan to actually use the compact versions, more than likely. The big reason is that if I do use them, it then frees up space that I need to find out what to do with. And I don't want to deal with that. So, yeah, we're probably not going to actually bother with that. Let's see. Do I want to go ahead and get... it doesn't really matter to get the jump point stabilization. We haven't been doing it for a little while now. Let's just go ahead and continue getting out of the way texts that have been partially researched. Also, let's check on quick reaction force too. The Albert David is kind of low on supplies, but I think it'll be fine. And there is our planetary sensor strength 900. So now Earth has 58 million kilometer range for a passive versus 10. 184 million for a versus 100. 581 million for versus 1,000. And for 10,000, it can basically cover the entirety of the inner and mid solar system. It can literally reach out slightly further than Saturn with 1,837 million kilometers. So, that's in the billions, of course. Yep, that helps quite a bit. And of course, this does mean that, Siceti is also quite a bit better. So Siceti B1 gets 750. And A2 also gets 750. Because they each only have one. Because there's no reason for me to give them more than one. Somebody hasn't brought the, Oh. Just to double check. You shouldn't be. I'm pretty sure you're not. No, you're not. Okay. Just had to double check that. Yeah, so somebody just is refusing to bring the Deep Space Tracking Station to Lalande right now. I assume it's because they're focused on trying to get the mines done. Hopefully that is in fact the reason. And let's hide that because it is a giant mess now. I completely forgot to tell them to research stuff. Let's go ahead and correct that. Yeah, let's go ahead and get that refueling system. Am I going to use it? No. Well, the albacore is now finally running into issues a little bit, but not too much. What I will do, however, is I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys standing order for right now. Supply points less than 20%. Resupply at colony. Just makes my life a little bit easier if I can issue those orders for you guys. So, same with you guys. And, actually head to Siceti. Do what you're supposed to be doing. It's my bad that I didn't have you guys actually doing that. But what should happen is that when they get to 20%, they should head back to Earth. At least in the case of the Sliceti guys, Alpha Centauri can technically resupply at Alpha Centauri there because it does have a fair bit of mineral or maintenance supplies. And there is our eCCM4. Wonderful. So let's go ahead and just start getting those minor refits ready. So, carrier, copy. You're going to have ECM. Well, yes, you can only have one. So there is your ECM4. I'm going to rename you. For now, we're just going to call you the 21XX. Because I don't know what your actual full designation is going to be because we may not be doing it this year. It may not happen until next. And also, technically, they should be capital X's. It doesn't really matter, but technically it should be capital X's. And I think we are going to have a change of plans. Why do I have you? What? Oh, this is the Yayik. Never mind. Obsolete that. I have zero fucking interest in building those. Can I actually build those? Can I retool to build the Yayiks? Well, let's obsolete you and then check. Just out of curiosity, there's no way I would ever do it. Yes, I could theoretically. Okay. Sure, game. Sure. I don't think I'd ever do it, but yeah, okay. Okay. Why when I capture a design does it get added here? Like that makes zero sense to me. Because there's no way in hell I'd ever use it. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I would never use a design that I got as a result of capturing an alien ship. For some reason, the game added 2 ECMs. It's not what I wanted to do. I don't know why you accidentally did that, game. Now, admittedly, I do want to note that this does have me considering the potential. So we did do the research for the 70,000, just for the hell of it. Game, just for the hell of it. If I wanted to do a new 15cm railgun with a 70,000 range, and a capacitor recharge rate of 4.5 with 4 shots each per railgun, I would have 210,000 kilometer range. That would require a new beam fire control, I'm pretty sure. Because I'm pretty sure we designed our current ones with the existing in mind. Actually, no, it would not require a new one because our existing for the 15 centimeters is actually 240,000 range. So we have 30,000 to spare. We would have to redesign the smaller one though, because it was designed for the 60,000 range, but now I could do 70. I don't really care too much for the smaller one, I'll admit, though. I think the big thing for me would be maybe adding a larger railgun for the big. Also, and this is just for myself, another thing that I want to check out. Fire rate is still 15 with that. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I mean, it is a 25 centimeter railgun. It has a power requirement of 15. We Cannot possibly. Well, actually, no, game, that's not true. With a capacitor recharge rate of 8, we can do it, but for some reason, it still has a rate of fire of 15 there. Oh, yes, of course. It would be because, obviously, it was designed with a 5 in mind. Yes, yes, that makes perfect sense. So if I were to design a brand new 25, we could fire every 10 seconds. Which doesn't really matter because the enemies are slow enough on the approach to a planet that, technically speaking, 15 is fine. We could probably even do slower and not have problems. Like, we could probably do like the 20 seconds. It would save a little bit on minerals. But I'm not designing a new one just for that. But yeah, we could probably actually do a smaller one, technically speaking, and not have problems. I think we're gonna probably bring the diplomatic ship back because it's been 30 some odd years. Well, yeah, that's probably not too far off. It's been around ish 30 years, and we haven't gotten any change whatsoever in their opinion of us. So, yeah. Yeah, I think we're just going to say screw it. And we are going to bring. Let's see. Do you benefit significantly from the extra labs? Yes, I think you do. I think you benefit quite a bit from the extra labs. We're going to just go ahead and get you the extra labs. Not that I plan to build a 30 centimeter railgun. That is just no. There's absolutely no reason for us to bother with a 30 centimeter railgun. Outside of planetary defense, I do not think anything larger than the 25 is necessary. And the 25 might even technically be overkill now. Now that's got me wanting to look at that. Again, it's not that I actually plan to do it, but just out of curiosity. There's only a 60,000 kilometer difference between the 25 and our existing 15s. And the thing that should be noted is that our 15s are quite a bit cheaper in terms of minerals. Not that that is a big issue for us. They are significantly cheaper in terms of build cost at 138 as opposed to 157. They are slightly faster at firing with the 10-second rate of fire as opposed to the 15. But the big thing is the damage difference. This is a 5-1, this is a 3-1. But again, yeah, I don't think it really matters. Now, I will say it may not be the worst idea ever to give these things ECCM if we start having issues firing at the enemy early. But it seems like the enemy's ECM is not particularly effective against our ground targets. The big thing is that it seems super effective, however, when we want to launch missiles. But our railguns and stuff are perfectly fine. They have zero problems. Only our missiles seem to have problems dealing with ECM. But once we get the new ones, once we get the new minor-ish refits. We'll call it minor adjacent refits. Yes, that is what we will call them. Because they're not a major refit, but they are realistically, I don't think anybody would consider it a minor refit. Especially if we do end up, completely swapping out the armor and potentially even giving them the new railguns for the extra range. Not that it matters. But we might do it, because we don't have to redesign the fire control for the 15s, so why the hell not? That really is the response I have, is why not? So I think that is what we're going to end up doing, is that we are going to, I think, redesign with the 15s. But do I want to potentially wait the 10 years? Or, excuse me, not the 10 years. The, year and a half that we're going to have to wait to get capacitor recharge rate 10. I mean, we're already researching it. It's about a year and a half. We're going to get it April of 2139. And that would allow us to get 5 rate of fire 15 centimeter railguns. Just humor me, game. Humor me. If I were to take an Albany class here, we're going to make a copy of the copy. And again, just humor me here, game. If I wanted to replace all of the 10 centimeter railguns with 15 centimeter railguns, I could have 7 railguns. It's still less railguns. It should be noted. It is still less railguns. Because this has 12 total. But 10 of them require me to close the distance. Here, I have 7 that do not require me to close the distance. In this specific case, I would be capable of firing at them at the maximum range of 180,000 kilometers. Firing 7 shots each from each cruiser. And I could make a similar change as well to the destroyers, of course. You guys don't need that smaller fire control anymore. You don't need all of those 10 centimeter railguns. Here's a bunch of 15s. You would be able to have 8. And I can take off an ECM, because you don't need 2 now. Does not quite allow me to sneak in an extra 15 centimeter railgun, though. Update the armor. Actually, we do actually have armor updates. Yes, we have the compressed carbon, so we do have some slight updates available to us. Yeah, still can't quite get you up. Ah, there we go. Now I can sneak in 9 15 centimeter railguns for our destroyer, but you would need 40, we'll just say 41 power to be able to do that. Which we could do. I could do that. Yes, that's very much possible. Also switch you guys over to the nice fancy new advanced fire controls. or excuse me, advanced damage controls. Because that is what you guys should be using now. I'm going to be honest. I am legitimately considering making that decision to just drop the 10cm railguns on our cruisers and destroyers. And waiting out for the capacitor recharge 10. And designing new 15cm railguns. With 70,000 kilometer range. A capacitor recharge rate of 9, because I don't actually need the 10. I'm fine with the 9. I can save a little bit on mineral costs and still get a 5-second rate of fire. Have a 210,000 kilometer range. Still leaving me with about 3,000 or 30,000 to spare. If I were to wait longer and get Railgun launch velocity 8, that would take us to 240,000 on the dot. Which is what that fire control provides. I don't know if I quite want my weapon range to actually be equal to my beam fire control. I'm not sure if that would potentially introduce some problems, potentially. But I could see at least doing this with the 210. Because how much is it to get launch velocity 80? That's like ages out, isn't it? Yeah, 120,000 research points. I'm not waiting that long. I think this is what we're going to go for. We're going to get the capacitor recharge rate 10, and then we're going to design new 15cm railguns. And we're going to be slapping only 15cm railguns on our guided missile cruisers and our destroyer. Now, actually, another thing I need to check on. Is that the same capacitor recharge, or excuse me, is that the same fuel consumption efficiency as what I have here? I believe it is. I did try to save a little bit on fuel efficiency by dropping the engine power from 100% to 85, and yes, okay, so yeah, we don't have any new engines to design, which is what I expected. I just had to double check that, because if I did have new engines to design, I might have done it for the fuel efficiency, but no, we don't have anything. And I don't think we have a new reactor either, right? Nope, that is the same reactor. Yeah, so question is just, these refits will not be happening until 2140, roughly. So current designs will have been in service for 15 years, which is, you know, not bad, per se. And I think what we'll end up doing is, because I want you to be at 23,000 tons. I mean, maybe you can go slightly above that, but I am aiming for 23,000 tons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually give you some extra engineering spaces to get the IFR down. I can get that down to 3.3. And then I'll give you a small fuel tank. And technically you actually have 1 extra day of fuel. So off screen, I'm going to go ahead and finish up making these changes. Where is it? Because okay, delete that. That you're still at 3.3, which is fine. Do I go for the extra fuel? Yeah, I think we go for the extra fuel here. So smalls, and then a fighter to get you up to 11. You actually don't need to use a small for this. And that's, there we go. Get you under 3. And that gets you almost a year at full power, which is great. Okay, so yes, I said I was going to, do the rest of this off screen, and then I didn't do the rest of it off screen. So yeah, this is the designs we're looking at. The Akagi is not going to change too much. I will actually do that one off screen. There's really not much I can do with the extra weight savings, because about any change I would make is going to, bring it over 43,000. I don't really want to take it over 43 again. I could make it smaller. Shave off maintenance supplies or something. Well, not really. I can't really make it smaller either, unless I just remove the ELINT module, which I could do because it's not doing anything. How large is a hangar deck? Hangar deck is 1,000. If I were to remove your ELINT module and give you an extra hangar deck, could I do that? Not without going over 43. You know what? If I have to take you to 44, I will. I can give you a couple extra fighters then. But it's not really worth it, though. We're just going to make you a bit smaller. We're going to take the ELINT module off. It's not really doing anything for us. I kind of thought it would help us a bit more, but I don't think it really made a significant difference, all things considered. And so, yeah, I don't know what to do with the rest of you, if I'm being completely honest, because there's really just not much to do with our carriers. Because to add the strike fighters, I need a brand new carrier design with that in mind, and I can't really do that with the Akagi unless I want to have to go back to Earth to resupply the ordnance every time, which I guess is fine, but the main issue is it means literally it is just a single alpha strike. If I were to actually give it any strike fighters, it would be incapable of actually launching strike fighters in any sort of sustained effort. They would go in, fire their missiles, go back, and then literally sit out the rest of the fight. Which technically is not the worst, because our fights don't drag out necessarily. So that could be a valid option. Again, I'm gonna think on that and figure out exactly what to do with this next refit for the Akagi, because I am legitimately struggling to come up with what we can do with it. Because there's just not much with its current design. And I can't make it too much larger doing a refit. Otherwise, we won't actually be able to do a refit, and it would have to be effectively a whole new design. Which, push come to shove, we could do. We could do that. That is kind of the reason that the Africa exists here. Was to, be that next generation carrier. The plan was to give it a magazine. I currently have a magazine acting as a placeholder with 1500 magazine, or 1500 capacity. It would be able to carry, 12 strike fighters, 36 of our fighters, and then 4 observation craft. We may end up going that route, actually, I think. I think we might even just say the Akagi has served its purpose. And we might keep the Akagi around and we'll just add it into one of our mineral groups to serve as an escort carrier effectively. And we're going to just build a brand new carrier, I think. I think that's what we're going to end up doing. The Akagi, as far as we are concerned, has served its purpose. It has done wonderful for the Terran Republic in all of our engagements. But it's time for something new. And so we are going to be designing a brand new carrier. It is also technically slightly faster than the Akagi, which is kind of nice because the carrier is the thing that's been slowing us down still. Not that that matters significantly because the Akagi was still fast enough to be able to allow the fleet to catch up with the raiders, but we've got other enemies that we're going to want to fight, and the Akagi is a little too slow. Technically, though, the Africa is also a little too slow, but we're going to ignore that for right now. Yeah, I think we're retiring the Akagi. I think that is the best option for us to make, is that the Akagi has served its purpose, and it is time for it to just go and kick back, kick up its, put its feet up on the table and just be like, you know what? I've done my job. Now I get to just watch as the brand new carrier gets to tough it out. So, next part, we're going to be, I think, sort of finalizing some of these efforts. But I don't think we're going to actually be implementing any of them until probably the following part would be my guess. But I'm going to see you all next time. Quick reminder, if you want to stay up to date with the channel, any changes to my schedule that, might interfere with recordings or live streams whenever I finally bring those back. Probably by the time this video comes up, or actually, comes out, those should have started up again over on my Twitch. But you can find updates for all of that on my Discord, because that is my go-to place for posting about that type of stuff. You can find a link to it down below in the description. I will see you all next time. Until then, goodbye and farewell.